welcome to CIO Leadership Live. I'm your host, Kathy O'Sullivan. I'm the editor for CIO New Zealand, and I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, Angela Henderson, who is the General Manager for Digital at Kiwi Property. Hello, Ange. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm really well, thanks.
Great. And it's so fabulous to finally have you on CIO Leadership Live. I've been looking forward to this one, I tell you. But for those of you who don't know Kiwi Property quite well, can you tell us a little bit more about your organization and what your team does there?
Yeah, so Kiwi Property Group are one of the largest property landlords in New Zealand. You'll probably know us more for Sylvia Park. So we own Sylvia Park and all the development that's going on in and around Sylvia Park in Auckland, Lynn Mall out west. We own ASB down at the North Wharf, the Vero building, which I'm sitting in now, and a couple of large shopping centres down in the Waikato, the Base and Centre Place, and also the Plaza down in Palmerston North. So we've got quite a lot of retail and commercial properties, and we're at the moment building a new arm to our asset base, which is about rental and build to rent. So people can rent from us nice, beautiful, modern apartments in the future. So those are going up down at Sylvia Park. As for my role, as you said, I'm the GM of Digital here, and I look after all things technology. So I look after the core IT, if you like, so all the networking, cyber security side of things, operations service desk, all of that, plus data and insights, and of course product. So all the products that we are delivering for both our internal and external customers.
So it's a big role, and you've obviously had a lot of experience in IT and transformation. I know you've worked for some big companies like Air New Zealand and Westpac, just to name a couple. But transformation is a word that's, it's thrown around quite a bit. It's a bit of a buzzword. Can you talk us through, how transformation has shaped your career and your experience of transformation?
Yeah, so my experience, it's really not as big and as crazy as it seems. I think you are right when people say, let's do a big digital transformation. I think it's from a career, yes, I've done this in a lot of places, but I think quite simply it comes down to really understanding what the business needs. So what does the business need to change, and how are we making the business more simple and efficient as we go? And to do that, you really need to make sure that you've got, from experience, the right buy-in right at the beginning. If you don't have the board on board, and if you don't have your executive on board, then it makes it really hard to do that. But you've got to really understand the why and where the pain points are across the business to make it real. Because if you think, I'm just going to swap out some core tech and do that without taking the business and the people on that journey, then I think you're in for some difficult times. So I think, from my experience, transformation it's tricky, but I think it always starts with the people. And if you don't start with the people, then it makes it hard.
So starting with the people, and I'm just walking back from that end product of transformation, what are some of the other kind of key steps you think CIOs must take along the way? Is there ever something, a starting point or something that will kick off a transformation journey?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's always getting that sign off. So getting the board, for me, getting that board across it is, presenting why, what you're doing, making sure they're on board and willing to fund it, because obviously without the funding, it goes nowhere. You need to make sure your executive colleagues are also singing from that same hymn sheet and understand the why, and spending time with them and making sure that they each understand what it is, what they get out of it and what their team gets out of it. Because I think as you sort of go down levels in organisation, people always ask, so what does it mean for me? And you've got to be able to explain that. before you start anything, before you start changing anything, you've got to be able to explain why we're doing. So once you've got that agreement and sign off, it's about building a team that can help deliver it and making sure you've got the right capability. I can't emphasize enough that making sure you go out and get the right people who have this experience, especially in the leadership roles that you need under you, is very important. People that have done this before, extremely important. And that's not just from a technology perspective, that's from a change capability, making sure that we're taking the people with us, spotting where people are getting a bit wobbly along the way, because people always get a little bit wobbly along the way, and making sure that we have the business looked after in the right way. So it's not, transformation is not a technology thing. It's right across the business, and you've got to really think of it that way. Otherwise, you won't get people using those tools, using the things that you're trying to deliver.
So you mentioned there, it is tricky. Transformation is it can be a challenging time for people and for an organization. You mentioned resources, making sure you have enough money in there for what you want to do. Are there any other kind of common roadblocks, be it, legacy systems or culture? What are some of the kind of common roadblocks you think CIOs must either be aware of and have a plan for, or try and avoid along the way?
Yeah, I think culture is definitely one of those. I think you need to be working with the people team to look at how you're transforming the culture as well. It's so important that you do that, because as everyone knows, culture is strategy for breakfast. So if you don't have that right mindset, that above the line mindset with people, then you get this whole change resistance. And people don't necessarily always like change. People like doing things that they've always done all the time because it's comfortable. But you need to be able to show them a new comfort. So taking on and working with those people directly who are struggling to understand is really important. So people are always probably the biggest challenge, I would say. Technology is technology. Yes, we have legacy technology. I think it's really important to ensure that if you're moving from one system to another, that you are communicating with the people that you're moving away from really well. And making sure they're kind of on board and understand why you've chosen to do what you've done, rather than just sort of cutting them off and going somewhere else. I think it's important, especially in New Zealand, because New Zealand is so small. Auckland is tiny compared to international countries and cities. So you really do need to make sure that you do things right and do things well and respect other companies and other vendors that you might be working with. It's just a simple trust relationship. And I think it's all about relationships. You need to be able to build them and keep them.
Absolutely. It's so essential. So just picking up on that theme of, change resistance or even change fatigue, do you view transformation as an evolution? It's just something that's going to be an ongoing development within any business? Or do you like to see transformation as a project with milestones and deadlines and celebrating the wins? I mean, where do you stand on that spectrum of the evolution versus project approach?
So I actually think there's a time for it, because then people kind of think, God, how long is this thing going to take? So the way that I've looked at the way we're transforming in Kiwi Property is we've got some really big core programs of work that sit in there. And to my mind, and they will take 3 to 4 years to deliver. But to my mind, that's really the transformative bit, the people, processes and tools, and getting all of that in. I think the next stage on from that is continuous improvement. And that's where product management comes in, is making sure that you're keeping the products current and delivering what you need to do to enable that transformation to be and create more value as it goes down the line. So I think, yes, for me, in my head, I kind of the way my brain works. I like to partition things and go, yeah, okay, this is the transformative work. And then we create our product roadmaps to deliver anything more than that. Because what can happen is everyone goes, oh, we're doing a transformation. Look, we want to do that and that and that and that. And then it becomes a real monster. I think you've got to control scope and you've got to be super clear about what you're delivering. Otherwise, I think, you'll probably start getting questions from the board and the exec going, haven't you done this stuff yet? You just you've got to put some time boundaries around it. So I think, there's a evolution from transformation into continuous improvement, and that's how it sort of rolls. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier, when you are kicking off a transformation journey, the importance of getting people on board, and particularly the exec and your own organization's board. So can you tell us, as GM for Digital, how you do that? How do you collaborate and influence the organization and its leadership team?
So I'm really lucky to be part of a amazing exec team here. And, we have stand-ups every day. So we have half an hour stand-up every day, and we talk about what's going on in our space and things. And I've been able to leverage that environment and take some of that space to sort of communicate what's going on and how things are going. Obviously, have done presentations to both the board, numerous presentations to the board and to the exec, just to help them understand where we're trying to go and what does this mean. I think... and I've also used some quite visual, like I've done little visual videos and things like that help make it click, if that helps. So that people go, because when I talk about an app, a shopper app down at Sylvia Park that does this, this and this, some of them go, and just talking IT gobbledygook again. And if I can put that into a video and help them understand, then they go, oh yeah, I get that. I get exactly what she's trying to do. So it's about breaking down those language barriers as well, and speaking the way I call it Janet and John language, just making IT speak very simple and really easy for people to grasp and understand. If you can do that, then you've got this shared understanding and knowledge. And then it also helps for them talking to their teams as well. But the other thing me and my team have done is we've spent time with each of them and their teams, taking them through what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it. And also we've had many of their team members involved actually in the project and the selection of certain tools that we're using going forward. So we've tried to get everybody involved. So then you get everybody on that bus and no one's left guessing, what are those guys doing again? They know.
Fun. Yeah. That's a great approach. I love the idea of videos and actually showing people. It's a great approach. So and the pandemic has really brought technology into sharp focus for a lot of businesses and organizations across New Zealand. How do you think the role of CIO has changed since the pandemic?
It's an interesting one here. At KP, we were really set up for flexibility, working at home, our business continuity management plans all kind of just clicked into place and everything works and very easily. So I think that was good from a Kiwi perspective, but I think, people are more cognizant of what technology can do. It's making sure, I think I'm always making sure that people have the right kit at home to be able to do their work, having, the most up-to-date laptops and screens and whatever. I make sure that the team is putting that out there for our wider team members, just so that they can work their very best at home. There's, I sort of feel if you give people substandard tools and whatnot, you're not going to get the best from them. It's just always been important to do that, and just really cognizant that the systems we have in place, we have to have high availability. They need to be consistent. They need to be there, and people need to be able to, when people are using them, they can go ahead and do that. So it's just been more aware of the needs of the business and how the business like to operate and work. But like I said, at Kiwi, we're pretty well equipped here, and how we're worked through the pandemic. The other angle is obviously just making sure that you're very open and flexible to the working at home practices that are certainly embedded in. We're very flexible here anyway, so most people will be working at home 1 or 2 days a week, so it's actually not feeling that different. But I think it's just a mindset. People and from a CIO perspective, you've got to have a positive mindset towards that, and just be prepared that people won't be there when you maybe think they should be. So it'll be
just
okay.
picking up on that positive mindset, are there any other kind of key attributes you think are essential now for a successful modern day CIO when it comes to leadership?
I think that you need to be a people leader rather than just a leader. You need to understand people. Your EQ needs to be, your radar about how people are feeling, picking up on little cues where you sort of think, oh, that was a bit weird that they said that, or that's sort of a little bit out of character. You've got to be able to pick up on that and have a conversation about it, because people might, over the screen, people can put on that mask of everything's great. And especially, we've seen a lot of mental health issues through pandemic, not so much at Kiwi, but it is a thing. And we need to make sure we're taking good care of people and giving them the help that they need. I think it's that social awareness that is super important, which is probably more than sort of that traditional CIO mentality has been in previous years. So I think actually the pandemic's probably done a good thing, because we become closer to our people, even though they might be on the screen. You can still help them and support them probably better than you did before, I would say.
So how do you create that internal culture then that, makes people feel connected and, inspires them and makes them feel like, they are on a path to success in their roles?
Yeah, so we as we set out our goals for the year, we make sure that everyone understands those, and we spend time as a team every week just making sure that we're supporting each other. How do we achieve our goal? If someone's struggling, how do we wrap our arms around them? I'm really lucky. I've got an amazing team here. We're really close. We check in on our team culture every quarter, and we do a little digital mini survey to see where we're at, and then we sort of pick it apart if we're unhappy and work out what we need to do better or differently. We have fun, so we kind of do little fun team days and evenings just to catch up and just be silly with each other. And I kind of operate in a really flat structure as well. I don't deal in hierarchy very well. It's not the way I operate. So, I just bring everybody in and I communicate openly with everybody. And so everyone's got the same messaging. So I think where it becomes hard in teams, if some people know something and other people don't, and then the culture starts getting all funny, I just try and communicate openly and widely, and also across the business. I want to make sure that our culture entwines with the rest of it. And if we can positively influence the rest of the business, then that's a great outcome. So, it's all about spending time.
Now, and you're one of, a few women CIOs or GMs for digital that I've had the pleasure of chatting to. But I'm really curious on your views about, getting more women into senior leadership roles in IT. What kind of practical things do you think can be done to, get people from a diverse range of backgrounds into IT in the first place, but in particular that women in senior IT roles, how do you think we can get people into them?
I think you need this. This topic is massive, and I've just got so many views on it. Firstly, I think it starts, from school. I don't think schools are offering enough exciting technology classes that girls want to be part of, and therefore, and it's typically seen as a boys' thing, and girls kind of shy away from that. So I think that this problem starts very early. But in terms of getting more senior women, I pretty much know the handful of senior women in IT here in Auckland, and I can pretty much guarantee you that none of them have studied IT. But they're amazing at what they do. So I think you've got to be open to looking at people that from right across your business who are delivering projects, who, I've got an amazing girl, I shouldn't call her girl, lady, that was in the people team that I've moved across into my area, and she's knocking it out of the park. Like, she's doing amazingly well. So I think you need to look wider than just the IT pool and go, okay, well, where can we give another person some opportunity to shine? And there are amazingly smart people in all businesses. I think it's just looking wider, taking the blinkers off and going, oh, okay, that person could be really great in here. And be willing to spend time and mentor them and coach them. And I'll tell you what, you'll get massive benefit from it. It really pays off.
Right. And so when you reflect back on your own career, and this, sometimes it can be a bit uncomfortable to think about, mistakes that we've made along the way. But is there anything that stands out when you reflect on it really helped you and shaped you as a leader?
I wouldn't necessarily call out mistakes, but the key learnings, I think, particularly for me as a young woman in technology, I think, we talk about masks, and I certainly had them, especially when I was in the UK, working in really large technology teams, and you felt like you had to behave like this and, be this and, and you really sort of lose yourself. I think it's really important that you keep being true to yourself and being the real you, because that's what people really like and connect with. And that's what gains the trust and belief. So if you want to go and you want people to follow you and you want to transform this, you need to be really, you need to be yourself so people trust in what you're trying to achieve. So I think that's the big one, actually. And, I've been very fortunate to work with some amazing leaders who enabled that for me. And so as leader, leader now, I've got to make sure that people can bring their whole selves to work every day and deliver, and you get more from those people if you do that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So for someone who was aspiring to be, a CIO or a CDO or CTO who really, wanted that top job, what advice would you give them?
The best piece of advice I always had from a chap called Tony Spilsbury, who's, a real mentor for me in the UK. He always said to me, Ange, kill people with kindness. Because if you are kind, and savvy and smart, but you do things in the right way, you'll bring people with you every time. So that's something that I've always gone back to is Ange, just make sure you're doing the right thing, because you're more likely to get what you want and what you need rather than treating people badly. It's important.
Absolutely. Great advice. So we're heading into, a turbulent year possibly ahead. There are some clouds of recession, and there may be a change of government, or there certainly will be a change in government policy. What are some of the kind of top of mind things for you? What's important to you in the months ahead?
Oh, look, I'm buried thick in the transformation part at the moment. We're putting in a new ERP system at Kiwi at the moment, and we're in the thick of finishing the design and looking at how we do our first conversions for data migration, which, it's quite big. And this this particular project is super important to our business as we go forward. So we keep, charging forward with that, even in these rocky times. So we're putting from an environmental perspective, we're putting all our effort into getting that thing done. We have had to peel back on some of the other things that we have in our plan. It's not meaning to say it won't be done, but we've just pushed that out a little bit further into outer years because we're just making sure that as a business we are really stable and can come out of a downturn in the right way. We're just really keeping our focus. So I'm buried in making sure we get through these conversions and our data migration works, but also making sure the team is happy, they're all working together, and we're communicating and working with the right wider business. So that's that's not that's pretty much it, but it's a big thing.
Big, massive year ahead. Well, Angela Henderson, we wish you all the best with it. Thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure.